My name is Animosity.
And I'm Anime Series.
And we are here at the Cincinnati Arts Association beautiful historic music hall. We're going to be doing a little Drag 101, and in this section we'll be talking about the history of drag.
Drag is a performance of exaggerated femininity or masculinity or other forms of gender expression. Drag actually began as a very early part of the ancient cultures. So in theater, in ancient cultures like Rome and Greece, they actually used only males for their performances. I know, it's terrible.
So you've seen Pose and maybe even Paris is Burning, but the history of ballroom culture stretches all the way back to the 1860s. William Dorsey Swann, who began his life as an enslaved man, actually hosted drag balls in D.C. in the mid-19th century. And he is the one that is actually credited with coining the term Queen of Drag.
Queen. Participants walk and do poses and voguing. Mm-hmm. I can't do it. You don't want me to do it. I just can't. This is where we also find death drops come into play. Mm-hmm. I also can't do those. I might lose a hip, actually.
For those who lost their families when they came out, ballroom houses provided an alternative or chosen family where they could shine, winning titles, money, or especially recognition for your house.
Drag performances also became more about individual expression as vaudeville took the stage in the early 20th century, with prima donna performing song and dance routine with lavish costumes. This is where we see all of our new costumes that we come out with today, why they're so wild and outrageous. That's where it goes back to.
The 1950s were pretty dark days for LGBT community, but there was a little bar down in Miami, Florida, Ohio.
Florida.
Known as Club Jewel. And they set the stage for a traveling drag show called The Jewel Box Review. Running from the 40s to the 70s, the show visited as far as Spokane, Washington. They went to Ontario. They even came back here to Cincinnati, and they performed at the Cat and Fiddle Club for 16 weeks. Cat and Fiddle is actually located just a block west of Music Hall on Central Avenue.
And the counterculture of the 1960s saw more and more of the LGBT communities forming in bigger cities, and dressing in drag in public was still a little dangerous.
Yeah, what did they say? 3 items of clothing?
3 items of clothing that still had to represent your gender. So for drag queens, it could be a pair of socks and shorts underneath all the garb and attire. It was illegal for bars in New York to still serve any alcohol to known homosexuals.
Known homosexuals.
Known homosexuals.
Are you a known homosexual?
I might be.
Oh. No alcohol for you, sir.
None for me.
None for you.
None for me.
In 1965, Jose Sarria founded the Imperial Court de San Francisco, which was the first of now over 70 groups of courts across the United States, Canada, and Mexico. And these chapters work to raise money for their local charitable causes. It is our local chapter, the Imperial Sovereign Queen City Court of the Buckeye Empire, that grew out of the Sin-Tit bowling leagues.
Say that 3 times fast.
Then we get to 1969, and that Stonewall riot happens. The Stonewall riots began as a spontaneous rebellion against frequent police raids of the Stonewall Inn in Greenwich Village. This battle was led by bar patrons, including African-American lesbian drag king Stormy DeLarverie and African-American drag queen and trans woman Marsha P. Johnson.
In the 1970s, we also saw the beginning of the AIDS pandemic. So we saw that was really huge in the LGBT communities. But there were organizations towards the later part of the 70s and early 80s, including the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, which is an organization of clown-faced drag nuns that were really leading the charge in helping to serve the community at the time. And their mission is to promulgate joy and expiate stigmatic guilt, so the guilt that's associated with HIV.
Then we move on to the 80s and 90s, and we get to the club kids, partiers,
yeah,
known for their flamboyant behavior and outrageous outfits. Although not considered drag at the time, their unique expression through dress could now be considered just that.
And drag has continued to grow and grow more and more mainstream. We saw some of our favorite movies like Mrs. Doubtfire and White Chicks. But we also saw RuPaul brought in her big show in the early 2000s and with RuPaul's Drag Race and Ryan Murphy's Pose.
Well, all right then. Let's dot that I and zip her up because she's ready to go. She's got the wig on. She got the eyelashes mostly on.
It's gone.
It's gone. Let's move on to drag as an art form.
Girl, did you see the last episode of All Stars last Friday with Gottmik's outfit?
Oh, that was incredible.
With the arms and then the surgery scars. Oh my gosh.
The rhinestones, I love the rhinestones.
It was so beautiful. Hi. I'm Broccoli Spears.
And I'm Princess Pedicure.
And we're here to talk a little bit more about drag as an art form. So, going back to the conversation about Gottmik. Gottmik is season 9 of RuPaul's Drag Race and is a trans man and had this absolutely stunning outfit made that had arms with scalpels on them and then sequined blood to go over the surgery scars to represent his transformation into his manhood. And that's really kind of where we wanted to go with this conversation, is talk about how drag has moved maybe from less of just a gay, cisgendered man in a dress and a wig to something that has become a real work of art.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of people, when they think of drag, they think of a cis gay man in a gown doing a ballad to Whitney or something like that. And at this point, drag is so much more than just cis gay men, which it traditionally has been. You know, there's trans men doing drag, trans women doing drag. There's AFAB, which is assigned female at birth performers, which are cisgendered women who like to do drag because this is not just how cisgender women look normally.
One of the things I really find so amazing is how makeup styles have changed and how it's not just about covering up the man to become the woman. It's also recreating the shape of your face with makeup to actually create a character or to create a specific piece of art.
Well, a lot of drag, especially on Drag Race, ends up being almost more like a living sculpture than just an outfit. And you can't go to Target and buy their drag outfits. They are created. They would take it and they would put a bunch of rhinestones on it or something to make it uniquely theirs. So if you saw someone else wearing that on the street, you couldn't say, oh, I have your outfit, because your outfit doesn't have 1,000 rhinestones on it like mine does.
Yeah.
There's a lot more freedom in how you can present in drag nowadays as well. It was, for a long time, very strict in that.
Very strict.
You had certain ways you did your hair, certain ways you did your makeup, and if you didn't do that, you weren't really accepted in the drag community, which is where things like alternative drag spring up. There's a huge subsection of drag that's dedicated to people that don't want to just look glamorous. They want to be messy and dirty. They want to do gross things or weird things.
And for those people, we are actually very lucky because the Boulet brothers came up with this idea to bring alternative drag to the mainstream. They put together the show called Dragula.
Dragula.
It is very alternative. It's not what you're going to see potentially at a normal gay bar or a drag show, but it's also very important that we see alternative drag and give people the opportunity to allow their own self-expression.
You can go to a drag show and not necessarily only see people lip syncing.
Monet Exchange is a fantastic opera singer. Thorgy Thor actually plays the violin at the symphonies. It's helping people who love, for instance, with Thorgy, get new people into the symphony, but also getting the people in the symphony to understand that what we do is more than just the makeup, the wigs, and the outfits. So I know for myself, I've been doing drag for 10 years. I started with La Valle Trocadero de Monte Carlo in New York City. That was a ballet company that is all male. They do the guys and the girls parts. And we had so much fun, but I had to learn how to do makeup. And stage makeup's very different than drag makeup, but that's where I started. We look back at our own baby drag pictures and we're like, oh, God.
I thankfully started out with YouTube and video tutorials to help me, but the video tutorials are very, very recent, and you were just kind of hoping for the best, really, when you painted your face before. You were trying to look like a woman as much as possible, which is not always the case with drag nowadays. I wouldn't call my makeup as trying to look as much like an actual woman as possible.
I don't know what you're talking about. This is like a Krogering outfit, right? Being in drag is a lot of work, but I know for myself as a performer for 10 years, I wouldn't give it up for the world. I've enjoyed every single performance I've done. I've enjoyed connecting to the people. The people are one of the big reasons why we do it. I mean, just being around somebody who I know at the end of the day I'm making happy, like that for me counts as art. I can show them an expression of myself through whether it be just a traditional lip sync, whether it's something like this, helping people to understand, drag 101, honestly. So it's opportunities like this are just so immensely important for us. And with that,
we'll see you next time.
Let's start talking about the drag that's right here in Cincinnati. Some of you may remember all the way back to Shiraka and Darlene Love, Thais Raines and Monica St. James, rest in peace. And then we started moving into the RuPaul era. So everybody knows Penetration, but don't forget about Mystique Summers, Two Piece and a Biscuit. And now locally, we have so many people.
Molly Mormon, Cora Sline, Chastity Marie, Jessica Marie Jones. We have drag kings as well. We have Johnny Justice. We have Alexander Cameron. We have Pucker Up.
I mean, you'd be hard-pressed to not be able to find a drag show if you wanted to.
You can see some at Bloom. You can see drag at Main Event. You can see it at C&D in Northside. You could see it at the Flock or the Birdcage, whatever they go by
Whichever one
nowadays.
they're going by now. Isn't there one at 16?
I think
Let's
somebody
bring
we
back,
know.
Yeah. What's her name? Cauliflower.
Carrot Stick,
No.
right?
Carrot Stick?
No. Broccoli.
Oh, hey,
Hi. Yes, you can always find me at the 16 Lots Brewery at Newport on the Levee. We do it every 6 weeks. I won the Cincinnati Arts Association's Dancing
my
for the Stars 2023.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was very, very fun. I also think there's one other person here who has a title of their own.
Hello, and welcome back to me. So my title is for cosplay, which is just people who love to dress up and get in costume. Some of us are members of the Imperial Court of Cincinnati. I like to say the Imperial Court of Cincinnati because it's easier than the full title of the court. Because
ISQCCBE.
Oh, good
and
job.
that's still short. We have titles within that. Monarch titles. Animosity was an Empress a couple of years ago, and I was the Emprex last year.
And you know, a lot of people in Cincinnati have gotten their start in the court. PhD, Cora Sline, who is the face of Cincinnati Pride this year, they both got their start with the court. And so if you have any inclination of doing this, talk to one of us. We would absolutely love to tell you more and how you can get involved or where we're going to be next so you can come and tip us, right? We'd love to see you.
Yeah.
But this has been Drag 101. I'm Broccoli Spears.
Animosity.
I'm Princess Pedicure.
Anime series.
Thanks for letting us teach you some stuff.
Forget how we were going to close this. Oh, we were going to hug.
We're going to hug.
We're going to hug.
Somehow.
We're hugging. Oh.